I've been making music in Ableton for many years now, and I recently had to archive a lot of my old projects because it was getting out of hand. So while I was archiving this, I had the thought, maybe I could make a series out of this. And what is the series? Well, I asked myself the question, can I actually remake these old tracks into something that sounds good, basically? And to help me decide which project I'm gonna remake, I created this little wheel here where I added all my project file names, and overall we have 134 entries, so it will be quite interesting what will come out of this. So let's not hesitate any longer and let fate decide. Okay, so this is something from 2 years ago. I have no clue what it is, so let's jump into Ableton and have a listen. Okay, I think I actually remember what this one is. I wanted to make an EP before my first EP, Tides, which I never released, and I think this was intended to be an intro for that EP. So yeah, let's have a listen. Okay, I'm actually kind of glad that I got something like this, because some of the older projects from something like 2019 would be absolutely terrible, because I was still kind of new to Ableton back then. At least this is something I could maybe turn into something. I'm gonna have to do some housekeeping to apply this to my new template. Okay, I have added everything to my current template, which will help me to make this a little easier. Okay, what I will do now is start a timer of 1 hour, and then we will see what will happen. I have no idea if this will become something good or if it will be absolutely terrible. We'll see at the end. And off we go. I already had some thoughts about this. I think, let's hear this first. These are these weird background sounds, and I think I'm just gonna change this a little bit and remove this. Because I had the idea to make this into like a breakbeat kind of track. So let's do some proper drums first, I suppose. It's already much better. Okay, I can already hear that this is gonna turn into something that would be present on the PlayStation 1. So far we have this with the drums and the rest. Okay, I like that. That sounds much better. I usually like to just use this rack, which I made myself, and also this preset for raw on my drums. So if you compare them, it just makes him better. It's magic, basically. Okay, and I also need some crunch on my For my break drums. Okay, that's already great. And one last thing, which is also pretty important, which I always, no, not always, but almost always put on my drums, is a good old convolution reverb. Let's add some more drums. Okay, for my hi-hats, I usually like to use this preset, which is just the saturator, a vocoder, and erosion, because it makes the hi-hats a little more gritty, and I like that. And what I also always do on my drum heads is a little bit of deviation to make them a little bit more interesting, and also a slight humanization. And what I also recently started doing is adding a little bit of random pitch. I think I'm happy with the drums for now. Let's see what we can do with this pad and the drums together. I need more distortion on that. That sounds too clean. Maybe also some chorus. Okay, I think I like that. I also need a bass line. I think I can work with that, but I also still need some distortion on the bass to make it sound a little bit more gritty. Let's do something like this. I'm not sure if I want to keep this guitar. What is this? Okay, this is alright, but yeah, screw the guitar, it sounds bad. This is, by the way, my absolutely favorite tape plugin. And this plays such a huge part in my current sound. I want to change the envelope a bit. I think this needs a little bit more width. It sounds a bit, I don't know, too thin. Let's try chorus again. This is, by the way, a great free chorus plugin. It's pretty much the chorus you will have in Juno 6. So it's pretty straightforward. You just have a dry wet and a stereo width knob, and you can choose between two types. Okay, I think I need some chords, maybe like some dub chords. There's this great Ableton preset, which is just called Chord Dub Keys. And I think this will get me right where I want to be. Okay, let's do something like this. Okay, maybe not this. Let me cook. Okay, I just did some housekeeping where I just did the clip to zero stuff here, where I did all the leveling. And we're at the halfway point now, so I decided it's time to do some arranging. I think I like what I have so far, but we'll see what I think of it when I listen back to it later. At the moment, I think it's alright. So yeah, let's just quickly record. What I like to do for arranging when I want to be quick with my arrangement is just hit record and record a block. Alright, once that's done, I just go into arrangement view and just pull this block. And then I'm gonna go through this and just carve out stuff, you know, like a sculptor would do with his, when he would build a statue. Okay, do we start with the drums or do we start with the synths? That's the question. I think I know what I'm gonna do. Yeah, I think this is gonna work. If you're wondering why this is called lazy filter, it's because I mapped it in a way that once it reaches the top, it turns off. So I don't have to do 2 automation lanes and just 1. Okay, let's do a quick run through. I'm getting sucked into details. I don't need to be sucked into details at the moment. Yeah, at the moment I'm just trying to get like a quick arrangement done. Okay, what I noticed while I was doing all that is that I definitely need something to make the drop work, otherwise it will be quite boring. Maybe we do something like this. Time is moving quickly. Much quicker than I expected. It's crazy how fast an hour can go by. I definitely need some more cymbals, maybe a ride. Let's do a ride.
A ride. Now that's a good idea.
We're getting somewhere. I definitely need some kind of build-up. I think I'm just gonna go with a standard riser at the moment. Or maybe, I don't know. I sometimes also do like sound design for video games. That's just why I have stuff like cinematic risers in here. You need more. I don't know why Ableton does this. Like, ever since I switched to Ableton 12, I have so many duplicates in my sample library. Okay, we need to get funky with the break here. I think I'm getting close. I mean, time is almost up, but I also think I'm getting somewhere where it sounds alright. I realize it's kind of hard to speak at the same time while doing all this because I'm so focused on making music that I sometimes forget to speak. So sorry about that. Okay, last minute. Let's make it count. I'm just winging it with the automation now because I only have 20 seconds. It's just random stuff I'm doing right now to make a little bit more. I think I'm done after an hour. I did something in an hour. We gonna listen now to what we had in the beginning, and then I'm gonna run you through the whole track. Okay, let's listen back to what we had in the beginning. It's just this ambient idea. Okay, and now I turned this into this track. I hope the mix isn't too terrible because I was mixing on my headphones. I usually do that on my speakers. Okay, I think I'm kind of happy with this. I definitely noticed some sections that would need some fine tuning, like the drop, for example. It is definitely doesn't hit as hard enough, and the end is also like it's too repetitive. I might have to get rid of some of the break sections here, and yeah, I definitely need more texture and a little bit more variation in the melody. But for a first time challenge, I think this works pretty well. I'm actually quite happy with the result. I let you decide. You can tell me down in the comments if you think this was great or this was terrible or this was kind of mid. I'm open to feedback. And I would also invite you to do something like this for yourself, because you never know what you can come up with if you just go through stuff that's kind of old. I mean, in this case, it wasn't that old. It will be interesting to see how I manage with something that's like 6 years old or something, because that will be just terrible. For reference, I started making music in Ableton in 2018. So if it's from 2019, you can imagine how bad it will sound. I unfortunately don't have my very first projects anymore. I kind of lost them. But we still have a lot of stuff to work with. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this little session. I will definitely make more videos like this because this was pretty fun to make. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you think. Maybe subscribe, maybe leave a like, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.